A couple days ago, I was pushing a mountain bike through deep sand in the Moab desert. Noonday sun, steep grades, large rocks, a very long way from where I needed to be. People driving past in jeeps kept stopping to ask if I was okay. And somewhere out there on that road, tired, dusty, completely spent, something shifted in me. My mind went completely still. Not because anything got easier, because I made a choice about which reality I was going to inhabit. And that stillness has stayed with me through a brutal training ride the next day, through this morning's run through the desert. It cut through something that years of mindset work hadn't fully reached. I want to tell you about it because I don't think the desert is required. I think the lesson travels. I've done a lot of mindset work over the years, and it's helped. It's genuinely helped. I understand patterns of thinking. I know how to reframe. I know the tools. But here's what I've noticed. There's a kind of noise that is very hard to address directly. The noise of the world, the chaos that's everywhere right now, if you're paying attention, the accumulated weight of old conversations, past situations, people and dynamics that are no longer in your life, but somehow still live on in your thinking. You didn't invite them back, they just show up quietly, persistently, taking up mental real estate that could be occupied by something else. I'd not fully realized how much of that noise had built up in me until the desert started dissolving it, slowly, without effort, without me doing anything at all except being present in an enormous and indifferent landscape. There's something about grandeur that recalibrates the mind. Vast canyon walls, the silence of the desert, your own smallness in the middle of all that space. The chaos of the mind grows quieter, not because you've managed it, but because it suddenly seems very small compared to everything around it. But the deepest stillness didn't come from the views. It came from a long, hot, dusty walk I didn't plan for. My husband Paul and I had spent the morning on an 18-mile mountain bike ride, the first 8 or 9 miles on trails that are genuinely challenging for a beginner like me. I was already spent by the time we got off the trails. We'd heard there was a spectacular viewpoint nearby, the Gemini Bridges. Just a short hike off the road, they said. 300 yards. Completely worth it. They were right. Spectacular. And then we started down the Jeep road that was supposed to take us back to the highway. Deep sand, steep grades, large rocks, the kind of terrain that off-road vehicles exist for. I realized almost immediately that riding was beyond my skill and strength level at that point in the day. So I walked, pushing my bike, in the desert, in the noonday heat, on a very dusty road, for a very long way. Paul would ride ahead a mile or two and wait for me apologetically. People driving past in jeeps kept slowing down to check on me, and every time they asked if I was okay, I had to actually check. And the answer was yes, completely. I was tired, I was hot, I was dusty and slow, and a long way from the bus. But I had enough water. My legs, trained for Ironman, were more than strong enough to carry me and that bike through whatever the road could dish out. I just didn't have the energy to ride it. Walking was entirely within my capability. The only thing that wasn't fine existed entirely in my own mind. I could make this an ordeal. I could blame Paul for getting me into something beyond my level. I could catastrophize about how it was going to affect my training ride the next day. I could turn a long, slow walk through the breathtaking canyons into a story about suffering and poor judgment. Or I could choose the other reality, the one that was equally true. Here's what I mean by the other reality. I was pushing a mountain bike slowly through canyons that I'm extraordinarily privileged to see, rock formations that most people never stand next to, Silence so complete you can hear your own breathing. A body that's strong and capable and healthy, not energy for this particular challenge right now, but strong enough for all of it. I had a husband ahead of me waiting apologetically, who'd been nothing but patient and steady with me all week. I had the desert, vast and ancient and completely indifferent to my inconvenience, doing what it does. And I had a choice. Not about the road was the road, about which story I was going to tell myself about the road. I chose presence. I chose to look up. I chose to feel my legs moving and appreciate that they could. I chose to let the beauty of the place be more real than the discomfort of the situation. And my mind went still, genuinely still, not peaceful in spite of, just still. The way it gets when you stop fighting what's happening and decide to actually be in it. I've been told for years that presence is the antidote, that the thoughts that haunt us lose their power when we stop feeding them and come back to what is actually happening right now. I've understood that intellectually for a long time. On that Jeep road, trudging through the sand, I felt it. If what I'm describing is resonating, that gap between knowing something and actually feeling it, the 3-day expansion quick start in the description is designed around exactly that kind of shift. Not more information, a lived experience of showing up differently. It's free, 3 days, 10 minutes a day, and the link is in the description. The next morning, I had a 3-hour, 45-minute training ride on my road bike, and it was hard, genuinely harder than a 5-hour race rehearsal I'd done the week before on that same path. My legs were carrying the previous day in every pedal stroke, but the peace from the Jeep road came with me. Not the memory of it, the actual quality of it, the stillness. It had cut through something that had been building quietly in my thinking without me fully noticing it was there. The accumulated noise, the old conversations that replay without being invited, the weight of a world that has a lot of chaos in it right now. It was gone, or at least quiet in a way it hadn't been. And this morning's run through the desert brought me back to something I hadn't felt in a long time. What running used to be before it became training. Pure freedom, just movement and breath and the ground under my feet and the sky above the canyon walls. I don't think you need the desert to find this, but I do think you need something, some version of being forced to be present because the situation demands it, because the mind will not go still on command. It goes still when you give it something real enough to be in. Here's what I want to leave you with. The noise in your mind, the old conversations, the weight of the world, the thoughts that visit uninvited, they don't get quieter by being fought. They get quieter when you give your full attention to something that is actually happening right now. Your body moving, the ground under your feet, the air, whatever is real and present and immediate, not the story about the past, not the anxiety about the future, this, right now, what is actually here. The desert taught me that again this week, not because it was peaceful, parts of it were genuinely hard, but because it was so fully itself that there wasn't room for anything else. Find your desert. It doesn't have to be sand and canyon walls. It just has to be something large enough and real enough to make the noise seem small. A long walk, a hard training ride, a run in the early morning before the world gets loud. The moment when your body is working and your mind finally has something honest to be present for. Ordinary days build extraordinary lives. And some of those ordinary days will be hot and dusty and longer than you planned. Be in them anyway. They have something to teach. If this landed for you, the 3-day expansion quick start is free and it's in the description. 3 days, 10 minutes a day, One promise, one identity shift, one visible step. That's your Jeep road. That's where the stillness starts. And comment, expand below and tell me, where do you find your stillness? What is the thing that brings your mind back to quiet? I'm reading every comment from the desert, and I'll see you in the next video.